Welcome back. As the holiday season approaches, many online shoppers will gravitate towards buy now, pay later services like Klarna and Afterpay. However, these services could bring on new challenges shoppers are unaware of. Joining me to discuss all you need to know about buy now, pay later is the program's director for Consumer Reports, Chuck Bell. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, great to be here.
Now, I want to jump right into it. Can we just first talk about why is it crucial for people to view their spending habits as we enter the holiday season?
Well, you want to be careful to protect your budget for the daily expenses and other needs that you have. And you don't want to be overpaying for holiday gifts such that you're going to have big debts come in March or April, right? So you want to stick to a budget and be able to pay off those debts in relatively short order, whether you're using a credit card or buy now, pay later.
Now, since we're also on the topic, I also want to talk about is it better to wait until the end of the year to buy all your presents and your gifts and stuff like that? Or is it better to like kind of do it over time?
I think it may be better for your peace of mind to start earlier. It is true that a lot of items may go on sale toward the end of the year, but it's also important to avoid being frantic at the last minute and not having something for someone. So I would vote for starting earlier in the year if you can.
Now, I definitely want to get into talking about buy now, pay later services because in recent years, they definitely become more popular. Can you just talk a little bit more about what that service is?
Sure. So this is a way of paying for a purchase in roughly four installment payments over a period of 6 weeks. So typically with the buy now, pay later plan, you're getting a 0% interest rate. You're putting 25% of the item's cost down on the day that you purchase it. And then you make three more payments of 25% each over the next 6 weeks. And a lot of times those payments are set up to automatically be drawn out of your bank account or debit card. And so they are automated. And if you're not prepared for them, you might experience an overdraft. So that's one thing to watch out for.
Now, I understand that most of these, plans allow users to pay later without any fees or interest, which sounds pretty amazing. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Is that actually beneficial?
Well, yes, this is a way that people can finance purchases generally cheaper than using a credit card. But one thing to be aware of is that some of the plans actually do charge interest. The buy now, pay later provider, Affirm, which is one of the ones that's you often see at Walmart and other online checkout counters. That one does charge interest rates of up to 30%. So in a sense, it's that one isn't necessarily cheaper than a credit card. And also Klarna has some interest-bearing loans. So it's real important when you are signing up for buy now, pay later to make sure that you understand the terms and look for a zero interest percent plan.
Now, I can definitely understand why people are kind of attracted to the idea of this, but can you just explain some of the dangers of participating in these types of services?
Sure. So these buy now, pay later plans are very convenient. They're present both in retail stores and also in a lot of online e-commerce websites. So it makes it easy to buy things. Perhaps the downside of that is you might buy more things than you need, or you might overpay for something because you're kind of in a hurry. You don't have to come up with all the cash in one spot. And so there are some surveys have shown consumers resent buying things on impulse, or they later regret that they've purchased something that maybe they didn't need. The retailer in this case is providing some fees to the buy now, pay later provider to help bring customers into the store or the website. And so they have an incentive to drum up business, but you have to be cautious as a customer that you're not shopping too much or buying too many things at once.
Now, I'm really glad that you brought up like the actual stores or the retailers, because I understand that there could be issues regarding returns or refunds when you use buy now, pay later. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. In a number of the complaints to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and Better Business Bureau, consumers have expressed concerns that when they try to return an item, sometimes they don't get credit from the buy now, pay later provider, or it takes several weeks or months to get that credit. So typically what you're going to do is if you're bringing an item back, you bring it back to the merchant and you request that they process the refund. But then that refund must be accepted by the buy now, pay later provider so that you won't have to make any more payments. Now, in some cases, that takes several weeks, and you have to reach out to the buy now, pay later provider by phone or by email. In some cases, they can give you you can reschedule the payment. So if you have a pending payment, call them up and say, hey, can you put that off for 2 weeks until the refund comes in? But the problem is sometimes you're going to buy things and you're going to be on the hook to continue to pay that until the refund is processed. And that's different from a credit card because usually with a credit card, you get your bill at the end of the month. You don't pay anything until the following month. And so there's more time for refunds to go through generally than with the buy now, pay later plan.
Now, what happens if you do actually miss a payment?
So most of the plans are going to charge you a late fee of $7 to $10 if you miss a payment. And a lot of times also when people miss payments, what's happening is other items may be hitting their bank account, like your telephone or your cable bill or cell phone bill. And then you may also experience an overdraft fee from the bank, which can be quite expensive. I think the average overdraft fee now is about $36. So you definitely don't want to have a late payment. You don't want to have an overdraft because that runs up the cost of getting the loan and makes it less worthwhile to begin with.
Now, you brought up something a little earlier about, making sure that you don't use it too often or spend too much. Have you actually heard any stories of somebody kind of just using Afterpay or any of these services just to have the item, but they actually can't really afford it or pay for it?
Yes, there's definitely some people who are getting overextended on buy now, pay later. One of the reasons is that the procedures for reporting to credit bureaus are inconsistent between different plans. And so a lot of times they don't know how much credit you've already taken out on your credit card or with other buy now, pay later loans. And in the last quarter of 2021, there were some users who were stacking up loans. So about 15% of users had 4 or more buy now, pay later loans in those 3 months, and about 5% had 10 or more loans. So that's an awful lot of loans to have out at once. And I have to believe that some people are going to get behind. You have to really be on top of your game to manage all the due dates and all the payments if you have that many loans. So we would suggest really only take out 1 or 2 at a time so you can best keep track of it.
Now, I definitely want to know, how does this differ from using a credit card service?
So the main thing would be 0% interest for those plans like Afterpay and Klarna that offer that. So the cost of financing is less. The payments come due a little more quickly. So your next payment is due in 2 weeks instead of 1 month, as it would usually be for a credit card.
Now, I think this is super interesting.
And then, sorry.
You can continue.
Well, I was just going to say, with the credit card, you are also putting all the charges on one account. So you don't have to worry about having lots of individual loans out at once. You'll be able to see all the charges you've made for that account over the previous month. And so that may be a more convenient service for many people. You get an actual billing statement, which right now you don't get with buy now, pay later. You get texts and reminders and maybe emails, but not a billing statement.
Now, I definitely wanted to touch on the fact that your organization found that younger Americans 18 to 29 are more likely to opt for buy now, pay later. Can you just talk about, the impact this could have on their financial futures?
Sure. So young folks, I think have adopted this because it's a highly convenient service and they are digital natives who grew up using smartphones. So they've taken to it, very enthusiastically. And I think it also responds to concern that young people have is that they don't want to have a credit card that has lots and lots of debt on it. And they prefer to kind of pay as you go and only buy things that they feel they can afford and pay off within 6 weeks or 2 months. So the problem, though, is also a lot of buy now, pay later users are also big users of credit card. So they may also be overextended on any other credit that they have. And so I think that's something to be concerned about. When you're young, you're trying to build a good credit score so to be able to get lower interest rates in the future and also to save up for buying a car, buying a home. So you just have to be really judicious in the use of credit. Whoever is offering you credit, you have to be careful in the way that you use it.
Now, I understand that your organization also found that Hispanic Americans and Black Americans are more likely to use these services than white Americans. Can you explain why we're seeing this finding?
Sure. So one of the reasons that buy now, pay later has taken off is it's a little easier to get than a credit card. Typically, the application process involves putting in your email and your cell phone number and having the provider do sort of a soft credit pull. But they're willing to extend credit to a lot of people that don't have a substantial credit record. And so because it's easier to get into it, they are reaching out to a lot more people that perhaps traditionally have not been offered as much credit, and so that's a good thing in a way. It's bringing more people into the financial system and giving a chance to people. And if you pay back your loan, then you can get another one. So that's a good thing about this service.
Now, we have about a minute left. Can you quickly just let everybody know what is a better alternative to buy now, pay later?
Well, I think one alternative would be to pay for gifts with cash or with a debit card, and so that way that you cover the entire cost of your purchase at the time you're making it. And the advantage of that is that you're going to be able to stay in better control of your budgets. So you may not, a lot of people don't have a lot of extra cash around holiday time, but you're not likely to have more cash in January or February either to pay off a big credit card or buy now, pay later bills. So using a debit card and sticking with cash has certain advantages in terms of helping you to stick to a budget.
All right, Chuck, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thanks so much for covering this.
To stay updated with Consumer Reports and all their findings, please go to their website at www.cr.org or follow them on social media at Consumer Reports. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back after this.